Robute Guilliman and the Silent King, two of the most powerful players on the stage at the moment in 40k. With the recent return of the Silent King and Guilliman trying to rebuild the empire of man in the eyes of his father, these two are looking like they will only become more important for the narrative. So, I wanted to know, who of them would win in a fight? I based this on feats of strength in the lore, and on my personal perception of the characters. But first, we'll meet our two combatants. First, we will start by talking about Robute Guilliman, the Primarch of the 13th Astartes Legion, master strategist and organizer, which he showed from the very start. He would rise to become the leader of his plans after the death of his adoptive father Connor. He would kill the human assassins that his rivals sent at him, though he is still a Primarch, so this is not much of an amazing achievement. After the Emperor arrived at the already huge Empire of Macragge, Guilliman was given command of the Ultramarines by his father. Again, Guilliman's genius would show here, and the Ultramarines would become one of the most efficient and numerous Astartes legions during the Great Crusade. He would stay a loyal son of the Emperor as the Horus Heresy began, the infamous civil war of humanity invoked by the Chaos Gods. Guilliman would be separated from the rest of the Imperium by the Word-Bearers under command of Lorgar Aurelian, and the World Eaters under command of Angron. At the planet of Kelv, Guilliman would show that he was more than a master tactician. First, Lorgar tried assassinating Guilliman by summoning a demon aboard his flagship bridge, which led to Guilliman fighting off the demon and then proceeding to destroy several Word-Bearers who tried to kill the Primarch in the vacuum of space. The Primarch did this all without a helmet on, by the way. Later in the war, the Ultramarines would land on the planet of Nuceria, home planet of Primarch Angron. Guilliman would face off against Lorgar. These two were however not the strongest Primarchs of the bunch, so the fight was pretty even. But in my opinion, Guilliman would have slain Lorgar, as Guilliman already battered his brother's sternum, which made Lorgar lose focus. Guilliman would however also lose a large chunk of his face due to Lorgar, so I would say it ended in a draw. Angron would intervene out of the blue and would begin a vicious assault on Primarch Guilliman. Angron was a berserker and brawler at heart. Also, Guilliman was tired of his fight with Lorgar. Still, the Master of Macragge would land some solid hits at Angron, but after Angron would be turned into a demon Primarch, Guilliman said hell no and retreated from the battlefield again. Not a win, but pretty impressive. After the heresy had concluded, Guilliman would lead the great scouring of his fallen brother's legions, because he still had the most numerous legion of all the Space Marines. In these battles, he would, due to a great tactical decision, surprise the Alpha Marines' command, and he would duel his brother Alpharius, which would end in the death of one of the Primarchs of the Alpha Legion. His other engagement against one of his brothers during the Great Scouring would seem to be one of his last, as he would face the demon Primarch Fulgrim, who would face his brother on the Battle of Thessala, where Fulgrim managed to mortally wound Guilliman in the neck with a blade similar to the Anathine, which was used to turn Horus to the Chaos Gods. He would be put in stasis and would eventually be revived by the Ynnari and Belisarius Cole. After being resurrected and fleeing the planet of Cadia after it was destroyed, Guilliman would arrive on Terra's moon, where he would once again face off against one of his brothers, Magnus the Red, Primarch of the Thousand Suns. Guilliman was demoralized at the sight of the Imperium and had been steadily losing his mind while trying to reach Terra. On his journey, he also defeated the demon Skarbrand, but that isn't saying much, because saying he killed Skarbrand is like saying I could kill an ant, because literally everybody kills Skarbrand in Warhammer 40k. His fight with Magnus, who is one of the strongest Primarchs, would only end in victory for Guilliman due to the aid of his allies. It was also not Magnus at his full strength and only a shard of his power, so it would be a victory, but not in the purest of. One of Guilliman's last known great achievements was fighting the demon moth Primarch thingy Mortarion to a standstill during the Plague Wars of Ultramar on the planet of Ajax. Guilliman, his superior war gear gained from the Emperor, would keep Mortarion at bay, who was known as a great and skilled duelist. To summarize, Guilliman fought his brothers 6 times, ending in 1 defeat, 1 tactical retreat, 2 victories and 2 draws. Not too bad if you realize he faced off against 3 of the stronger Primarchs of the 20, or 18, because 2 died, or 19 actually, because 1 legion is still. Well, I don't know anymore, to be honest. Oh, and he also killed Scarbrand, but again, not super impressive. Now moving on to our second combatant, the Silent King. Many compare the Astartes to demigods, and their Primarchs to lesser gods, and the Emperor to real gods. But the Silent King, or Zarak, is no mere god. He is known as a god killer. His armies would shatter the Satan and capture them to be used as tools of war for the Necrons. The Satan are like star gods, to give you a slight idea of how powerful they are. Zarak lived in a time when gods walked the battlefield, and he was the sole commander of the Necron forces during the War in Heaven. If you think of Guilliman as a brilliant strategist, then Zarak is far more than that. He killed the godlike Old Ones in the name of his own gods. I mean, first his armies were almost completely wiped by the Old Ones, but yay, second chances and all. After the Old Ones were defeated, Zarak would watch as the Satan would destroy one another as he planned his revenge for being turned into a robot by them. The arrogance of the Satan would prove their downfall, as even in the face of their likely destruction, the Satan would think it impossible to be destroyed, which Zarak then proved them wrong by literally just destroying them. We do however not have an accurate picture of how strong Zarak is. There is no record of him personally slaying some great Old One, or Eldar, Satan, or Krork. His body however is said to be immune to all physical and mental ailments. Does this mean he just cannot be killed? I don't think so, because many things in Warhammer are said to be indestructible only for you then to flip the page and for them to be destroyed. I think he regenerates at such a quick rate that it seems like he's invincible. He's the perfect Necron in all regards. They talk of him like he's a god or a god in the making, yet I don't know if it's his throne and Shaitan shard powering it that are a massive contributor to his strength, or if he himself is such an incredible powerhouse upon the battlefield. So now that we know our two combatants, I will begin to sketch the fight. For the purpose of the fight, it will only be two combatants and no external aid. So the Silent King doesn't have his throne, or guard, or Pharaons with him, and Guilliman is equipped with his regular armor, and that's of course the hand of the man and his father's burning blade. His regular armor, by the way, is the armor of fate, made by Cole, and can resurrect him and stuff like that. I have two scenarios in my head: the lore accurate fight and the Games Workshop fight. First, we will start with the lore accurate fight. The arena will be a Necron tomb world which Zarak has come to visit because it's refusing to awaken. Guilliman has received word that the Silent King is there and proceeds to land to cut off the head of the snake. After exiting his gunship, the Lord Commander of the Imperium charges at his foe. No taunts are made by the calculating Primarch. Zarak, God of Guard, turns to face the incoming Primarch as Guilliman lands an uppercut, launching the leader of the Necrons into the sky as he comes crashing down. Guilliman lands blow after blow with his father's blade as the Silent King utters his first words in the battle. Enough! Perversion of creation! Guilliman's attack gets blocked as he then is knocked back by a blast from Zarak's staff, creating a massive crater where Guilliman and his foe just stood. As Guilliman looks up to face the king once again, he sees that he doesn't even have a scratch on him. He sees the master of the Necrons lift his staff as it charges a Gauss-powered shot at Guilliman, as he can only utter his last words. Impossible. As he then gets vaporized by the Gauss-powered shot. The Silent King, after winning the battle, slowly proceeds to awaken the Tomb World and add them to his growing legions of Necrons. So yeah, even though we have no real clue on how strong the Silent King is, his body seems to be immune to any and all damage. Also, the technology of the Born Heaven surpasses that of the current Imperium by miles. Even his father's blade, made at the height of humanity's technological advancements, I believe could not harm the Silent King. But let's be honest, this is never going to happen while Games Workshop write the books. So let's get on with the Games Workshop friendly fight. Guilliman again would come straight sprinting at the Silent King and would again catch him off guard, using the hand of the minion to pound Zarak into the ground, cracking his skeletal body, which would begin to rapidly rebuild himself. As Zarak would block the next strike from Guilliman, he would regain focus and his balance. A flurry of attacks would come from Guilliman using his blade to attack quicker than the king could parry with his staff. As Guilliman pretended to once again use his hand of the minion to offset Zarak, He would surprise the master of the Necrons by slicing across his chest. Zarek would step back for a second, as he expected his body to rebuild. But the mark would stay. How is this even possible? You defiled my body, son of a false god! Guilliman quickly leaped to get into action, as he now had found out a weakness, and if he could harm the king of the Necrons, he could kill him. He lunged at him, while Zarek was still distressed as his body taking damage. Guilliman hit a blow at the left eye of Zarek. This left him open for a counterattack, however, from the Silent King, who broke the kneecaps of the Primarch with his staff. Guilliman stepped back for a second as the king would open fire. He quickly ducked for cover as the Silent King started destroying the surface of the world with his staff. Fight me in honorable combat, the one who damned your people, and face your long-deserved end! Zarek's doubts about his choices would take hold of him. As he lowered his guard for a second, Guilliman would once again engage the Necron in close combat. He knew he had no time for shooting his ranged weapon, as it would only delay his charge. The Primarch used his Hand of Dominion to once again set off the balance of the king. But this time, Zarek struck back, breaking the Hand of Dominion with his staff. Both combatants regained their balance and continued the fight. Zarek would now use his massive amount of knowledge to defeat the Primarch, striking him in quickly differing patterns and using his staff's range option to offset the Lord Commander of the Imperium. As Guilliman would be forced to his knees by the Silent King, who cut deep across his chest, breaking some of his ribs and forcing the air out of his lungs for a second. Your ancestors failed, broken by their own hubris. Your father failed, betrayed by his own sons. So what makes you think you could succeed? Your race is a disgrace, and I will purge it from all the corners of the galaxy. They will serve me well until they will utter their last breath. You are nothing, and will be remembered as the son who destroyed his father's last hope. Guilliman would despair for a second, as he could not bear the idea of failing. As Zarek went for the killing blow, despair was replaced by determination. The armor of faith went into overdrive, quickly healing the wounds of the broken Primarch. As Zarek's staff was about to end him, he would find it and blocked by Guilliman's blade. I will not be the one to fail my father! Guilliman, his eyes began to glow with a golden light, as the Emperor seemed to lend his strength to his son. Guilliman would grab the Silent King by his leg and threw him into the nearby mountain. As the Silent King recovered from the impact, Guilliman came flying in with golden wings, assaulting the king with renewed vigor. Zarek would now receive blow upon blow from the Primarch. As Guilliman knocked the staff out of his hands, Zarek would see the future of his people flash before his eyes. They would destroy themselves with infighting, and the Tyranids would consume the remnants of the galaxy. End me, and with it the future of the galaxy. We're all doomed in the end without me. You have not witnessed what I have. Guilliman would lift his father's blade and bring it down upon the Necron, slicing him clean in half, as he would then fall to the earth, tired from the fight, and rethinking what Zarek had told him. So, yeah, of course I would think Guilliman would win with some divine intervention from his father. What it would end up doing for the rest of the galaxy, I will leave up for debate. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my first video, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of my future projects and battles. Anyway, talk to you later.